Okay, so this is the Windsor Planning Commission, and we are starting our meeting officially right now at 6:02. First order of business. Is there any public comments, since we have some people in the public that have joined us remotely?
Yeah, my name is David Harvey.
Okay, go ahead, David.
Well, I was very curious as to the process. I mean, I remember going through Act 250 and all that, and this is a very significant departure from that. And I'm just trying to figure out how it's going to influence Windsor. And I was particularly curious as to when the first draft of the proposed changes would be available for public review, or even how close to that we might be.
And that's a good question. At this point, we've accomplished quite a bit. Depending on what we get done tonight, the hope is that we have the first one available. I think it's reasonable to expect that it should be available by March. That's our goal, at least, that we talked about before, to try to have it done for a review by March. And we'll just have to see how things eventually shake out.
Okay, and then will it be open for public meetings after that, kind of like in a town meeting situation, or?
No, the zoning changes. This is the zoning. It's not the town plan. So, and this is a de minimis, is like what I like to call it, change. What we're only changing predominantly are the things that need to be changed to conform with the new laws that have come out from the state, as far as allowing accessory dwellings and those type of things. We're also addressing other issues that are fairly outdated that needed to be updated. And that's really what this round of the zoning changes are. There will be a public meeting that needs to be held, and it's my understanding that that public meeting can be similar to just a planning commission meeting that's been warned that's going to be available for discussion and presentation, and we'll do a presentation then. And I believe after that input meeting, I think actually Jason's on with us. He could tell us specifically the exact steps that we need to do, because this is his deal. Jason, you mind stepping in?
So I was partially listening. So we're talking about zoning adoption process, right?
Yes, sir.
So from a public point of view, certainly come to the planning commission meetings and listen in as they're working on this thing. I would suggest throughout the process, but at the end of the process, the planning commission needs to have at least one public hearing, and folks can come and review the draft and offer comments, and they may make some further tweaks based on that. And they may have another hearing, or they may just send it right to the select board. The select board needs to have a hearing, or sometimes two, before they vote to adopt it. Some towns decide to send it to town meeting to adopt it, but it's up to the select board to do that.
Right. And, while we're progressing, you can review the packet, which includes what has been achieved and amended for each meeting. So, for example, if you go to the packet for this meeting, you'll find what we're actually discussing tonight. It's not the final amendment. The final amendment will be published after adoption, and after it's actually filed with the state. But while reviewing the meeting packets, you'll be able to see exactly what is being changed and discussed.
Okay, thank you. And that would be published online?
Yeah, if you see the agenda, you have a link for the meeting materials, and there you can find it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other public comments? I'm going to propose a change to the agenda to have Jason talk to us about, since we've gotten well, we knew we had the grant approved, but it's been awarded. And we have up to 40% of the grant available, but we need to have a consultant, I believe, is a request for proposal and RFP sent out. And so I thought Jason could bring us up to date on what it is that we're supposed to do with that.
Yeah, so this is a municipal planning grant. As you said, we had helped to draft this thing. At the time, a few months ago, we were thinking you wanted to hire the Regional Planning Commission and possibly a sub-consultant to do the work. However, the town wants to proceed is up to the town. A town your size, and for this size of a project, you're supposed to go through a procurement process, basically an RFP. So there's typically an RFP that would go out, and it would offer, anybody who wants to submit a proposal to do that work could do so. And then you, as a planning commission or whoever's making the choice, can go through the proposals and decide who you want to hire. And so my basic question is, how do you want to proceed? How do we want to, because you should get this thing going, I would suggest, fairly soon.
May I step in? I have a question. So, for example, we will need, first of all, to update the document, which is something that we can do as a planning commission and me. But we will need also to update the maps, and we will need to provide like a document with nice visualization. So part of this, we can do it in-house, but for the other stuff, I understand that you can provide the maps for us. Mm-hmm. So it depends on the scope of work you agreed with Tom or with the town. So what is exactly that? Is it that you can provide through this process?
I think it's perhaps awkward to talk about it now because there should be an RFP, and then we should respond to the RFP, and we could talk about what we can do, and maybe if we decide we need a sub-consultant to do part of it, what they can do, and then maybe what you can do. And so, in an ideal world, that gets spelled out in a proposal, but in general terms, we could do most things, I think, in the scope, but I think we'd want to talk a little bit more about, or think a little bit more about, the graphics piece, perhaps, and just clarify who does what.
So what should be the process for putting together the RFP? Is that something, I think we outlined what it was that we were going to be doing with the money and the application. So do we need to kind of step down to that, decide how we're going to work with that, and then where do we actually send this out? Is it similar to like the town manager thing where we'd be using some resources there, or how do we actually proceed? Who helps us?
If I can jump in here, I'm happy to do it. I've done this before. Jason cannot prepare the RFP for us because he's going to be bidding on it.
Right.
But I've done exactly this procurement before, and I know what to do. So I'm happy to handle it.
Okay. It's another reason I'm happy you're around. Okay, good. So is it possible that, Harry, if you take the lead on this, can we kind of have some, what I'd like to do is, obviously we need to, if possible, have this ready for the next meeting to be able at that point do it. Does that sound reasonable, that you'll be able to touch base with Holly and figure out what it is that we need to do to prep that, or you need more time?
Do you need to look at it before it goes out? Because there's no procedural reason that you do. I don't know if you want to take a motion or whatever to have me do it, but I can just do it. It's still, whoever is procured, the selection is going to have to be done and approved by the select board because it's a contractor that is, going to be paid town money. So it's
So
not
it's a
like I'm just going to unilaterally decide on who gets it myself or anything like that. But as far as issuing the RFP, I can just go ahead and do it if you're okay with that.
Does it require, the RPs obviously requires some detail as to what the assignment and tasks are, right? Scope of work.
Yep, I can take that from the grant application and from like a standard work plan that I've used before.
Okay.
Clarification, are we talking about the town plan? Or are we
Yes.
talking about the zoning regulation update?
Town plan.
Okay, thank you.
My thought is, Harry, is if you put that together and then maybe send it to Hallie and me to also take a quick look at it. At that point, if everything looks good, we could then move from there. It's the town open meeting laws. I'm not sure about if you send it to Mike also, if we can actually all view that way without a meeting. But I think if you send it, and Mike, if you're okay with this, I think if you send it to us and we take a look at, and if there's nothing, and I'm sure we won't find a thing, but if there's nothing we see that's of concern, we can go ahead and get that out there then.
Yeah, this is Mike. I mean, path of least resistance, which is fine if you think it'll be an open meeting thing. I think it's kind of administrative, but obviously if there would be deliberating, then that would be be wrong. But yeah, I'm fine with whatever gets it done quick, which is what we need. So trust that Harry will put it together based on the grant, obviously.
Okay, so would somebody like to make a motion for that? And that would have to be you, Mike.
Yeah, I will make a motion that Harry puts together the RFP, and then I guess sends it to Cliff and Hallie for final review, if that's what we're calling the motion.
I guess I'll second since I'm the only other person.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. And it is so. So Jason, I think that was the main thing that we had for you to get some clarification. We'd love to have you hang around, but I'm sure you've got better things to do. But if you need to hop off, I understand.
Thank you for your time, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Jason.
Okay, great. Prior approval of prior minutes. I'm assuming everybody read those over, and Hallie, I think you had really good detail in it, and so I think this came out very well. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I had one thing to mention. It's nitpicky, but under board members present, I just didn't want that to be misconstrued to say that we also had Paul and Bill, who are obviously part of their board in their own right, but not ours. I just wanted to make sure that wasn't a point of confusion for anyone. So other than that, approved as written.
Okay, so you think it read that they were actually part of our board?
Well, it says board members present; they're listed there, and I don't care. I know they're not. I just in terms of
I guess I blew right past. Oh, I do see that. Good catch. I didn't see that.
But it's approved as and again, I know it's nitpicky. I just don't want that to be misconstrued, especially because in their position in their other board, obviously.
Right. It should be under others present where Deborah is, I would think.
Yeah.
And Hallie, if you can make that change, do we have a motion to approve the minutes with that change?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none. How do we vote on that, Mike?
Aye.
Yes.
Harry?
Aye.
And myself is aye. Okay. Now we get into the fun stuff. And at this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Hallie because she's the one who's doing the work and has all the information for us.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So what I've done in the last time, I remember we mentioned that we need to get the sewers layer into the analysis and see how could that affect It actually did not result a huge change, but where we have different classes, the analysis just proposed new dimensional standards for that. So let me just share the screen and go through the document. Okay. All right, so as we're finalizing the document, I started to read different sections and starting to edit all these sections. I suppose we will need another like 1 or 2 meetings to just finalize the document and focus on the town plan. So for the purpose, I adjusted that in a way to reflect what we're doing. So do you want me to go through it section by section and read, or just go through the main comments you added?
I think we can work off the main, the hope is that everybody had a chance to kind of read through this. And if there's anything of concern, we can jump into it. Obviously, in the final review, we'll have the chance to come back to it too. But why don't we just kind of go through the summary of what's here and what changed?
Okay, so the general purpose is to implement the Windsor Town Plan. I explained that in a better way as it was not explained well, and to guide the land use and development in a manner that protects public safety, supports housing and economic activities, reflects the historic settlement patterns. Now, I think this is important. These regulations are intended to function as a practical data-driven framework that aligns with the zoning, aligns the standards with the existing development pattern and what we have on the ground. Specifically, I listed 9 items which are reflected in the document for the sections that we developed. Okay, so then I was focusing on the analysis during the past period. So the regulations list planned unit development and the residential unit, the planned residential development. It's mentioned in 2 places. So I think we will need to agree only on one. I have no idea why 2 are mentioned, and this comment was mentioned by Erin in the past as well. So do you want just to focus on the planned unit development and remove the other one? And this should be reflected on all the other sections.
I mean, it sounds reasonable. Harry, what do you think?
We usually just use planned unit development now, not planned residential development.
Okay.
Okay, so we remove this one.
I'm gonna ask also, Bill, do you, from you guys' side, see any effect of that?
Of this particular one?
Of the, basically,
Yeah, I wasn't able to access at home on my computer because it said I had to get permission to enter it, and I didn't. Get permission, so I haven't read it, so.
Hallie, are you aware that the general public doesn't have permissions for this document?
It's available. So if you review, Bill, the agenda and you click on this link, it will take you to a PDF that is on the box. It's open for all the public. But the document itself, if you want to add any comments, I will check if you have access or not, but you can simply just send a request for access if you encounter any issues. I will add you with the DRB members as editors to the document.
Yeah, if we could just add all the DRB to it, it'd be just simpler. Because I'm really looking for their input.
Okay. All right, so that's for the plant unit development. We'll keep it now, and maybe we can look into it when when we're finalizing the document.
Mhm.
Now, as we reduced all the setbacks now, we don't want a confusion to happen because most of the dimensions are taken from the center of the street. So we don't want to have residents be building in the sidewalks or outside their building, boundaries. So I thought maybe we need to add some clarification or a note stating that all required setbacks and bell to line shall be measured from the property line. No structure shall be located within a public street, sidewalk, or right of way unless expressly authorized by the town. The purpose is just to remove any confusion or like if the public want to use it in a way or another. Now this is for the resources district.
Could you kind of let us, okay, I see where you are. Just want to make sure we keep up with it.
Yeah, page, I don't know. This is a good point now that we need
It's
to
page
add,
11, Holly.
yeah, we need to add page numbers. I don't know, it doesn't appear.
It has it at the top. Also, it tells you what page you're on.
Yeah, but it has to be somewhere here. So it's better to
pages
add the
themselves
page
aren't
number.
numbered?
Yeah,
Okay.
so let's add page numbers. This is very good.
Yeah, we'll need that.
I didn't change anything in here for the resources district. Changes are minimal.
I think we do need one change though,
Yeah,
and that's the columns res 25, res 10. They really should be res 10 and res 8.
yeah, okay.
That
Right.
is mine, but just want
I
to.
mean, from the past time, the last time it was the same. So I kept it like this. And for the other setbacks, we reduced, for example, for resources 10, as we're now changing the minimum lot size, these are named based on the lot size. So maybe we need to come up with another way to name it. It's not 25 anymore. 25, it was named based on the lot size.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have now two classes, the 10 acres and the 8 acres. For the 10 acres, the minimum frontage is 500, and for the 8 acres, it's 400. For the analysis, we have it also in here. I adjusted the document and you can see my comments. So here, most of the lots, yes, Harry?
Yeah, can I ask what actually is the difference between the different distinctions of resource district? Because it's not actually mapped. So is that discrepancy written out somewhere else? If you look at the map, in other words, it just says resource. There's no resource.
Yes.
25.
That's true, but when we review permits, we review based on the lot size. So we're proposing less requirements for lots that are less than 10 acres. So yes, I'm with you. It's not reflected on the zoning map. We only have one resources zoning district. But maybe this gives the residents some flexibility because, the requirements, I know we had this discussion just to remove the second one and keep only one. Yeah. If you're with that approach, yeah, I can do that. I didn't remove it. I just minimized the requirements for that.
I guess I'm just not sure. So you're saying the purpose of having two different sets of dimensional standards for one district is, I guess, if you have a lot of between 8 and 10 acres that has smaller frontage smaller setback requirements.
Right. But you're right. That could have made like,
It seems like a very kind of fringe issue to.
yeah, because the difference between the lot sizes from 10 to 8 is not very big. So it doesn't make sense anymore. Maybe it was reasonable when we had 2 lots classifications as per the size. So,
But I
if
guess
you
if you have 2 sets of dimensional standards and one of them is lower than the other, then it means only the lower one matters, right? I mean, because it's the minimum. They're a set of minimums. So in effect, the one on the right is the only one, the column on the right is the only one that actually matters, because if you meet the requirements on the right, you by definition meet the requirements on the left. Or am I not understanding?
No, it's not the case. It's not what
It's the opposite, Harry. If you meet the one on the left, then you automatically meet the one on the right. The setbacks are higher on the left. The rest, let's just call them by what they're saying. Res 25 setbacks are 50 feet all the way around, and the Res 10s are 30 feet. The question would be, do we go to 1? And if so, if we do, what is the minimum setback that would be the compromise? And we would decide whether 10 acres is going to be the minimum lot size, or do we, or would you go down to 8 acres is the minimum lot size in that district? But I think that's something that would have to happen. I agree. The 2 doesn't make any sense. Before there was a big difference, or 15-acre difference between the 2 standards, and that's quite a bit.
Okay.
I think, Harry, it was proposed because there is a big difference between the lot sizes within this district. So this is why 2-dimensional standards were proposed. Now, as we don't have a big difference for what we propose, maybe we should remove one of it. We'll keep the 10, for example, and remove the other one.
Yeah, I think there should only be one. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I don't understand. So under the previous or the current standard, I guess, if you have, say, a 25-acre lot, but you can't meet the frontage setback or setback requirements, then couldn't you just subdivide off 10 acres and then have the lower setback and frontage requirements? I don't understand what the purpose of that was at all. But anyway, yeah, I think it should be 1.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Even for the other districts that we had different classifications, it was based on water and sewer, but here it's based on lot size, nothing else.
And, I think I agree with what Harry's saying. I think that we should base it on the lower amount. And then go from there. I mean, there's not a tremendous amount of difference between them anyway. The only thing that there's more of a difference on was the front setback. But
So if you have less than 8 acres, you would not be in the res district.
No, you wouldn't be able to.
No,
build
it
it.
can be anything
you
here.
have to have at least 8 acres. to
Okay.
have it. And I believe the rest. Yeah, you're right, Harry. I'm looking at the PDF of the map, and the res district does not show up. So it's not considered resource, right? Yeah, so I don't know that we can make an absolute change on that, but I mean, I would like to. I'd like to in my personal side, if I had my druthers, would to say that we adopted as the 8 acres.
Yeah, my guess, if I had to kind of reverse engineer why they did this, we have those multiple designations in other districts based on water and sewer availability, and it looks like, I think the prison property is in the resource district here, right? And
I think it is.
that area of County Road does have sewer, if not water. I'm not sure about that. So maybe that was a carve out to allow for, more compact development in the prison
don't have
property in the
town
future,
building.
but everything else is, state park land and whatever.
sure.
So that I don't think,
Right, and it's either that or it's it's the floodplain by the river.
right.
They're all areas that are not, really that buildable. So, except for the prison. which,
Yeah, but
get me
the
started.
present property will be proposed for another zoning district, so it
Right.
will be different with this amendment. It will not stay under the resources. But it's not resources, as far as I remember. Where is the location for the present property? It's somewhere here.
I think it is that, right? Right where it says
Yeah.
500 feet from road. Isn't that the grass? runs in the
So
park?
it's resources. It has to be
It
changed
is.
now. But look at, the lot sizes for the resources. Maybe this one is really small. But for the other ones, yeah.
Yeah, I think it doesn't really matter if we go with 8 or 10 for most of these, especially if the prison property is going to get moved to a different district.
And yeah, and I was gonna say, we shouldn't get too bogged down. Because we're gonna revisit this after, we're gonna address a lot of these issues on the final review, but we're also gonna readdress anything that comes back from feedback from the new town plan update that may need to go back to here and make some changes again. To conform with the town plan. Remember, the goal here is to conform to state regulations more. My gut feeling is that we go back to 10 acres on the res 10 and then leave all it and put everything as it is at the 400, the 30, 40, 40, and 40, as far as the minimums. And then after that, we can come back to it. Bill? Harry?
That makes sense to me. I don't think you're gonna. This is not developable land for by and large anyway. So
Right.
keep it high. It's fine.
It's not a sword I want to die on, Mike.
That's a thumbs up. Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and make those edits.
So just keep the 10 and remove the other.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Don't like to edit here, but okay. This way. All right. And for the other setbacks, you're fine with it. It's even less than what we had before. 30, 40, 40, and 40. Okay. Now this is the rural district.
Mhm.
And for,
Let's see, a rural district is
yeah, so here,
much everything.
there's something wrong. I don't know, the format is not working. Anyway, so the class A is for the PUD, and we did not have any dimension standards for the frontage and front setback, side and rear. So I added the note that this should be approved based on what we adjust for PUD in section 5.5. So this is exactly what I meant by design based. I don't think it's a good idea to keep it like this blank. But we cannot propose anything because that depends on how many units they are adding within the plant unit development and the land area. So in general, there must be like general standards to control that. The only thing that we can control for the PUD is the lot size.
Mhm.
And the density as we have it, 1 unit per 2 acres. But it doesn't also make sense. So if 20,000 square foot is 0.46 acres, so how are we having it like this 1 unit per 2 acres? So this number should be based on this.
So the maximum density of 1 unit per 2 acres,
And this is in the rural district, so let's keep in mind.
and the minimum lot size is a half an acre?
Yeah, this is not right. This is
it-
what was proposed based on the analysis and what we have on the ground. But if a PUD should be, I think I mixed between this and this line. So this is the 10 acres, and for Class B is the 20,000 square foot. So that's a mistake that I just noticed. Okay. And with this, it could make sense.
But now we're saying in Class B,
1
if
unit.
it's,
Oh, yeah,
that doesn't work either.
it doesn't work. So let me look at the sheet. Oh, yeah, this is what was proposed. Minimum lot size for the class, 1 acre. But if that's the case, we need to change everything here. This is not right, first of all, okay?
Mhm.
We can keep it as 1 unit per 2 acres, and also this one does not work. We need to change one of these.
And this is in
Yeah.
the
So
rural, right?
let me
That's what
look
I'm
into
trying
the original regulations. What does it say?
There's really
It's
no
the
ten.
same. It's the same, by the way.
And this has no water and sewer.
Yeah, this is what we have in our current regulations that we use. So 20,000 square foot, 1 unit per 2 acres. And for the other one is 5 acres, 1 unit per 5 acres. No dimensional standards for Class A, and there are standards for B.
Never know. I think what the goal was to just go with the single class of, because these are minimums. The minimum lot size was. That's kind of, this thing's really confusing, Outreach. Maximum density is 1 unit per 2 acres, minimum lot size would be what? It could be anywhere from 1 acre up, but if it's 1 acre, then according to this, you couldn't put a house on it. So the minimum has to be at least 2 acres if we're going to keep it reading this way.
Yeah.
So we have a PUD out on Route 44,
Okay.
where Janet Farley lives.
Okay.
And those lot sizes are certainly less than an acre.
Okay. And she's
I'm trying to think of the name of that.
44, so she is
Dairy Lane, right?
Dairy Lane.
Dairy Lane. Yeah. There's no street names on this map, find it, but it's right. Well, this doesn't show the streets.
I will add that just because structures are close together, if you're talking about an existing PUD, that doesn't mean that that's their lot size. That's the point of a PUD is that it's not subdivided, so they don't each own the area around their house. It would be a larger overall lot with the houses clustered together.
That being said, Harry, you were the one who had some good input on this the last time. What do you think?
I think it's confusing to have a separate classification for PUDs in the base district because section 5.5 of the zoning is the specific section for PUDs, and we could just put in there. Basically, usually PUDs are pretty seldom used. I'm actually a little bit surprised that we have one in town, and most of the towns I work in, it's just kind of a thing that they have in the zoning that no one ever exercises because it's a lot of hassle, basically. But yeah, I mean, it's a way of it's just kind of it's also kind of called cluster development. So you take, say you have a 20 acre parcel, and instead of subdividing it in the traditional way into 5 4-acre lots or 4 or 5 acre lots or whatever, and then plopping a house on each one of them in a very sprawling way, instead with a PUD you cluster all the houses together in one corner basically, and then that preserves the same overall density, right? Because you have the same number of units over the same amount of area. It's just that all the units are close together and most of the area stays open space, right? So it's good for preserving farm and forest land, that kind of thing. And they can also share, they could do a community septic system or share a well, that type of stuff. So there's some economies of scale, shorter driveways, shorter roads, that kind of thing. So it is a good idea. People don't use it that often. So I don't know, having its own designation in the base zoning district is probably just going to confuse people. Whereas we can probably write into section 5.5, which I'm looking at the current bylaw right now is on page 64. We can write in some kind of density bonus or density requirements in there instead, rather than having it in the actual base district schedule thing.
Right.
And we do have precedent for that. We actually have, coming to my mind, 3 neighborhoods that are exactly like that. They're all separately owned lots, as far as I know. But up by Juniper Hill, there's the neighborhood there with the cul-de-sac at the end, and there's the 2 over that are down by, I guess, Blanchard's, where you go up the road there. I don't know exactly.
Oh, Carter, Gilman.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Those 2 neighborhoods up there, the same thing, single road, then they make a loop around and come back.
Weston Heights.
Weston Heights, right. So
Birch Heights.
we do have precedent for that style of neighborhood and development, which I think is a really good one, because I think it's important that we also focus on building neighborhoods. First off, it helps with the resources of the town to be able to maintain roads and sewer and water. And it's good for the schools to where, the bus routes are all going to be more efficient. And there's efficiencies and economies of scales throughout the entire concept. So, I mean, I would kind of try to encourage that.
I'll just throw out that those might technically be PUDs, but if they are, it's probably just because Windsor's minimum lot size has been too large historically. So they may have needed to go through the PUD process as a kind of workaround to get that kind of density that they have there, while avoiding running afoul of the minimum lot size. And with Hallie's work, we're trying to correct that and actually right size the minimum lot size and the other dimensional stuff so that it actually reflects the level of density that we have. So theoretically, you should just be able to do more dense development like this in the water and sewer areas in the future, and not have to use this kind of arcane process to work around the fact that the minimum lot sizes are too big. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
Well, since it's the rural areas, I mean, I believe it's my feeling, and if you look at the description of my feeling, that they are really trying to keep density down and keep it, as visually undeveloped as possible from the road. Although if you look at the things that are allowed in it, none of this stuff, it keeps conflicting with itself back and forth.
PUDs are definitely a good option to have for the more rural areas so that you avoid,
I agree.
doing large lot subdivision and you can cluster houses together. It's a nice option to have. Again, I don't know how often it's really exercised, but it's more, in my mind, it's more for the rural areas than the more central areas of town.
So basically what you're saying is that we should make it Class B, which is not built out, should become Class A, and Class A should be whatever it is that we determined that the density should be. And 1 unit per 2 acres is, as opposed to
Yeah,
1 unit,
technically, you
1
don't
acre
even-
or whatever, that needs to be kind of, I think that's going to be part that we'll probably get some public input on too.
Well, we have actually, from the analysis, the median lot size is around 11 acres. The nonconformity is around 51%. So if you agree with this one, the development and it's what we have now is functioning at around 5 to 15 acres. So maybe we can get somewhere between this.
Where do we, I don't have that. Can bring
It's,
it back up.
this is with inside the analysis. This
Right.
document,
So what do we need it to be to get majority of it conforming?
the majority, I think if we go with the median, but we can't bring all the properties into conformity. And it's rural, so we have to keep it rural. Otherwise, there will be no difference between rural or low density.
So what would we need here for the minimum lot size?
So the regulations actually list 5 acres. Here we removed the 5. I think we fixed the 5 to be 2, and the other one is to keep it at 10. But I'm with the idea of keeping only one class and just have it at 10 or 11. 10.
So you want to actually double the minimum lot size? It's 5 right now in the current one.
It's 5, right?
But they don't conform at 5, right? Well, they have to.
They don't have to. They probably just are existing non-conforming or got variances or whatever.
Exists.
Yeah, your grandfather didn't, which is not politically correct.
So if the 25th percentile is at 4.5 acres, then if we dropped it from 5 to 4, I mean, that would bring a significant amount. I guess it wouldn't make a huge difference.
I think we tried to bring it into 2, but also 2, I don't think it's good enough. So you're proposing like having it at 4 acres? Or one at 4 and the other at 2?
Do we need both if we're gonna get rid of the Class A and then?
I
have
don't
it in
think we
section
need
5.5?
I don't think we need this here. Yes, we will have a separate section for the PUD.
Okay. I'm all for that.
Okay. And this has to be removed as well. And this not. So here it's 1 unit per 4 acres. But here we need to propose new dimensional standards in here. What did the analysis propose? No.
Do we want 1 unit per 4 acres? Is that,
Well, I followed the same logic because this was based on the lot size. So each 1 unit based on the lot size. So we want to have it like this.
I don't know, it just seems like it's a lot of space as the maximum density. Any other thoughts on it? Anybody else? Items?
I'm okay just keeping it 5, honestly.
1 unit per 5 and 5 acres for minimum? Is that what you're saying, Harry?
I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to do variances and stuff for existing non-conforming lots and stuff like that, but it's a rural area.
What's the name for the PUD that we have? Is it in the same rural district?
Dairy Lane. It's on Route 44. It's in the rural well, yeah, let's see.
That actually looks like it's medium density residential.
Yeah, it looks like it is a medium. Or it could be in the low density. Trying to remember where Dairy Lane is.
It's right at the top of that hill.
Yeah, I'm trying to, it's up by Mill Pond.
Well, no, Dairy Lane is on Route 44. It's,
Oh, okay.
you go up that
So
steep.
is it 16 Dairy Lane?
Cross
one
over
is
That was
the
the
brook.
place, yeah. Let me see. I can flash this thing. Does it have a cul-de-sac? I don't think it does.
Isn't that what that is? Yeah, there you go. I think you got it.
Which one? The first one? Oh,
The
this
one you just lighted up there, right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right by Cole Road. I think I found it here too. But it doesn't say what it is.
Yeah, but these are different parcels. So for this one, it's
Yeah,
not
it's-
mentioned. Yeah, 1.9 and 400. Are you sure this is a PUD? Because there must subdivide.
Here it is in the map though.
Yeah,
There's the road you cul-de-sac here.
Yeah.
different parcels.
You see all the houses are set back around to give the open space.
Right, but they're all in individual lots.
Yeah, usually it would be a larger lot that's unsubdivided and all the houses are clustered in one
Yeah.
area.
This is why I thought it's this one.
I'm not sure that that's actually what that is, but
It does not
Looks like
comply
that.
with the definition of a PUD. So maybe that's why we have the PUD here and listed for 20,000 square foot. No. Is it the same owner? No. I would suggest that we keep this for the next meeting and we look further into it.
yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But because from what I can see on the map, that looks like it's, I mean, medium density is what it's showing on the map. Not rural. Unless I'm getting that wrong. Where is rural? Is rural? Oh,
Rural, it's.
here it is in light blue. So it's not in rural at all. The
Yeah.
neighborhood we're talking about is actually medium density, so that wouldn't affect this.
Right. But you know, there is a way of doing it. So maybe if we look into the original, what we have now, just fix this one and put it as 2 acres. If we want to keep 2 classes, but we decided to keep only one. And this one, the one for 5 classes, 5 acres, the class B. As for now.
Yeah, I would be in favor of, there's no reason to have PUD specific stuff laid out in
Yeah.
Article 2 here.
Yeah.
To be part of the PUD section. And unless you offer some kind of density bonus for PUDs, which would also be in the PUD section, it just uses the same density as the underlying district. So it would be, 1 unit every 5 acres in this case. But you would, for instance, if you had a 25-acre parcel, you would be able to build 5 houses in one corner, or 5 units, I should say, in one corner of the property, not subdivide it, and they would either be condos or rentals or whatever. And then the rest of that space would stay open, but it's the same density technically.
I think after looking at the map a little bit better, I agree with that too.
And that is what to keep. Could you say that again?
Yeah, I think we do 5-acre minimum lot size, and the maximum density is the question, is it 1 unit per 5 acres? That what Harry's saying is that if you had 25 acres, you could put 5 units in there. And since it's a single lot, it doesn't necessarily determine what the density between the properties are here, because we don't have anything that would define that.
Well,
Okay.
density is always measured by the parcels, the overall number of units divided by overall parcel size. We can't.
And there's only one parcel. So,
Yeah.
I think that's a good change for now, and I think we go ahead and move on, and then hopefully we'll get some public input. We'll make a note to revisit if we need to, but also highlight that as one of the bigger changes that we're making.
Okay. And as for the front setback and side and rear, so shall we take because we didn't have anything in here, shall we take this one? Same, 50, 50, 75, 40.
And you're pulling that from where the
This
dimensional
is what
standards
we
from
have.
the low density, using the same as low density is what you're saying?
No, it's the same regulations for rural district, what we
Okay.
have for class B for that district in our zoning bylaws. Now we have to propose dimensional standards for the side setbacks, rear and front. What the analysis proposed rear and side 50 to 75, reduced to 25 to 40. What we have currently 50 to 75, we need to reduce from 25 to 40.
Where are those numbers at? What page is that, or what?
We're still on the rural district. Front setback, let's say.
Right, I'm saying where are you looking at the setback numbers you're talking to duplicate?
It's from the analysis document. The
Oh, the
non-conforming
analysis document.
Yeah.
Which of course I don't have.
Yeah.
That's
I'm fine changing rear and side to 40 and leaving the others the same.
Okay. Rear and side to 40. The front is
I think
300.
that sounds right,
15.
being that it's a 5-acre lot.
Okay.
Bill, any thought from you guys?
Mm-mm.
Any other public comment on that? Probably not. We must be okay.
Mm, 50. Okay. Any other changes for the rural district?
I see a hand up. I'm not sure who that is.
Hi,
Good.
this is Dave again. I was interested in pursuing Harry's comment about if you had a 25-acre parcel. I mean, part of what we're trying to achieve too is to preserve open land. So maybe on a larger parcel, you would mandate cluster housing in some aspects so that of the 25 acres, you know, maybe 22 of them remained open and you put, you know, 5 units on 3 acres or something like that. I don't know what the dimensions would be really, but.
Yeah, I guess that's hypothetically possible that you could mandate cluster housing, but there's a couple of problems with that. I mean, you can't require that someone build more than one unit, obviously, or I mean, you can't require that anyone build anything. So, I mean, you can always just have a single family house on a large lot.
Right, no, I understand that, but if you wanted to maximize the density, for example, then there would be a provision for how much of the land you could actually occupy with houses.
Well, it is the rural district, and so
You
I
know-
think there's some limitations already, water and sewer being one.
You know, under the purpose of rural district, the last sentence of the boxed purpose, it says within the rural district, clustered residential development is permitted. Maybe if it said encouraged.
Yeah,
residential development is
possibly.
encouraged.
Yeah, because I was thinking of something on the order like Cobb Hill, not that you want to have a commune, but you know, where they've got 200 and some odd acres there, and I think there's 26 residential units or something like that, but they're all clustered in one spot.
I mean, I would say you can't really require PUDs is the thing, because people can always subdivide down to the minimum lot size. So,
Okay.
That's encouraged.
So,
yeah, I mean, it would have to be a opt-in thing, and we have that. We have it as an option.
we have group homes, which include multifamily homes. If you look into section 4.4 in our bylaws, it lists actually mobile homes and different types of group homes, multifamily unit, multifamily dwelling. So it's already explained.
Already covered.
Yeah, it's already covered then.
Yeah, and if there's more than 10 units, Act 250 kicks in, and so that's a whole different animal.
Right.
So that means nothing will happen. You go to 9 units. I mean, I don't mind having the word encouraged put in there. Because the word permitted is fairly obvious because that's what this whole thing is. Encouraged would say that, you know, this is really what we're looking to have done, but you can't tell anybody what to do with what they want because, you know, it's their land, and if they decide they want it a different way, as Harry says, it's easy enough to subdivide it down to the minimum size that you want to. So in that case, they all become 5-acre lots if it's a 25-acre property and you put 5 houses in. And they're all spread out.
Well, assuming someday that the prison property will return to Windsor, the prison farm property,
Mhm.
you know, there would be the option of having you know, one house on 5-acre lots or having cluster housing. And I would think cluster housing would be,
Well, it's a resource. It's in resource, not rural.
well, right, no, but I'm just,
So-
the point of
Yes, everything that we've
protecting
seen,
the land and having,
everything that we've seen so far, and also that, remember, a big part of that prison property is some sloping in some areas there to really make it difficult to do anything more. And it looks like the most logical plans that we've seen come up have been just that, clustering and multi-use too. So, but that's going to be, I say at that point in time, that project is also going to be an Act 250 project, and it's going to require the town to go through and have, see everything that they're planning to do and what they're going to do with it. So we can't kind of base the zoning on the overall picture for the microcosm of what we know that may or may not happen with the prison property. And whatever happens with the prison property is going to get a lot of review. So I think it's kind of takes care of itself. But I really hope that will happen. Okay, are we good with the?
Well, I had one question. This is Dave again. So Act 250 is still basically in force, so 181 does not completely eliminate 250.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, they have a number of different things having to do with it. Some of them a little bit odd. For instance, the road can, a driveway or a road into the property. If it goes further than 800 feet or 900 feet, don't hold me to it.
800 feet.
800, yeah, then the process kicks in. If it's more than 10 units, it kicks in. So they only let go pieces to allow basic, simple residential housing to go into areas that already have the availability to host it with water and sewer. That's the main thing. If it doesn't have water and sewer, and it has just one or the other, you're still allowed, but it becomes a little bit more complicated. If it has neither water or sewer, then that act, as far as I understand it, doesn't affect it at all.
Okay, no, thank you for the clarification there.
Yeah, I spent 3 hours listening to him talk about it.
Now
So-
moving. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, unless you have something to add, Holly, I think we're okay now for the rural district, right? Is everybody
Yeah.
okay with that? Hearing nobody jumping up and down, let's move to the low density.
Okay.
I think we're
so,
done. I think we did that.
Right. So yeah, we reviewed all the
We spent
dimension
last meeting on
standards.
that.
Yes, I did not change anything. We
And
can
I
skip
think-
that.
Yeah, I think we're okay with the edited changes you have here. Am I remembering right, Harry, Mike?
Yeah, these are all from your recommendations from the report, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Now
Okay.
here, in the last meeting, we did not have any recommendations for the different classes based on water and sewer. Now, based on the analysis, for class 2, the minimum lot size is 8,000 square foot. And for class 3, it's higher, 20,000 square foot. I did not change much in a lot of things in class 3, but mainly the change is in class 1 and 2. The side setbacks are reduced to 15, the front setback 25, and the rear setback is 25. The maximum height is 50 instead of 40. And the maximum structure coverage increased to 25% from 20.
Well, we're 30% in class 1, right?
Yeah. 30% for class 1, but we discussed class 1 during the last meeting. And
Right.
yeah. So now these are proposed based on the water and sewer analysis.
So and I was just, the maximum structure coverage as opposed to the maximum coverage, I was just looking through this further down in the bylaws, and they talk about all outside additional buildings like garages and storage and all that, and also parking spaces are all inclusive. Is that all inclusive in the maximum structure coverage area?
All the built up areas, anything that is built is the maximum structure coverage.
So it does not include if somebody has paved parking area and driveway?
The driveway is not included because it's not built, it's not covered with a ceiling, or it does not have walls. So
Okay, we'll get to that later in the document because it's confusing. It makes it sound like paved parking places are inclusive in that. I could be wrong, but that's the way I read it. So if I interpret it that way, others could too. We're going to get to that. That's further down the line. We kind of discussed this at the last meeting. Is there any other concerns here? Any interest in changing any of these things, Harry?
No, that all looks good to me.
Mike?
Yes, all good.
Okay. Any public comment? All right, let's move on to the height density. This is the one that is the core of the changes from the new state regulations.
right, so for the minimum lot size, it's now reduced to 5,000 square foot. Now, per family unit, and this is 2 families, let's say it will have the same area, so the minimum lot size should be 2,500. We don't have multi-family, we added multi-family. So if this will increase, automatically the lot size will increase, okay? We did not add that as a separate section for multi-family, but makes sense that they have it at 7,500. The setbacks are reduced. For the front, it's 15, the side 8, the rear 15, the height is 60, and the maximum coverage is 50% increased from 40. I added these notes, like where an existing lot does not meet the minimum lot size per family unit, the number of dwelling units shall not be increased beyond existing lawful conditions unless dimensional compliance is achieved. The minimum lot size per family unit shall apply only to 2 family and multi-family dwelling. This standard shall not apply to a single family dwelling, which shall be regulated solely by the minimum lot size and other applicable dimensional standards of the district.
So my main comment on this is I don't think we have to increase the minimum lot size per family unit from 2,000 to 2,500 just because it's exactly half of 5,000. I mean, as long those should be thought of as independent. I mean, if you meet the minimum lot size, that's a check mark, and then the minimum lot size per family unit is essentially a density requirement, and maybe it should be phrased as a density standard instead of minimum lot size per family unit. I'm not sure which is the better nomenclature, honestly, but I see no reason to increase that.
I think so too, because you may, the supposition here is that the units are of equal size. And that doesn't, that's not how things normally happen. If you could have a 1 bedroom, maybe 3 1 bedrooms and 2 2 bedrooms and a 3 bedroom unit.
No. So that's I mean, that's part of the confusion, right? So that's not saying
Right.
that's
And
not
I don't even know why, what is the purpose of this?
that's a density requirement, Cliff. It's not mandating a certain size of unit for
No,
interior.
I understand that. So the density according to this is making it sound like there's only 2 units. Am I crazy?
Uh,
I know I'm crazy.
it may be yeah misconstrued that way, I guess, but
Well,
Yeah.
average person reading this, determining whether they're going to buy a piece of property to develop it, I think if I was doing that as a person who's done that before, I'd look at that and say, what? No, I'm not going to do that.
Um,
I need, I wouldn't put 4 units in that same place.
we can simply change this to dwelling, and this will match what we have in the use list. And it will remove any confusion. Instead of having unit, we will have it dwelling.
I don't think that's the confusing part. I also my main concern, I don't really care about the semantics of it. My main concern is I don't think we should increase that.
So we keep it at 2,000.
I would be in favor of that, yeah.
Okay. For the other standards,
We went through this last time, and I think that's all fine.
I mean, is everyone okay? So what I'm saying is basically if you have a 10,000 square foot lot, so roughly a quarter acre in high density here, there's a big difference between 1 unit for every 2,500 square feet of lot area versus 2,000. I mean, that's the difference between five units and 4 units for a 10,000 square foot lot.
Right. I'm not arguing with you. I was thinking of going down to 1,500, but I'll just let it slide.
It could be lower, yeah. I mean, we're talking.
Because to me, I think,
lots.
I mean, the encouragement that's trying to happen from the state and everywhere else is to try to find a way to fit what we can into it. And depending on where it goes from here, a lot of this is going to show up before the DRB and others anyway to look at that the overall plan makes sense because it's a new construction happening. And I don't want to put too many things at limit, and this is the minimum. So
this is also an instance where on a very small lot, the other dimensional standards are going to do most of the heavy lifting for
that's what I'm thinking.
the density requirement. It almost doesn't even make sense to have a density requirement in an area with lots.
That's what I said in the beginning. I don't even know what's there.
Right.
I don't know what it's trying to accomplish. Can somebody explain it to me?
It's just another way of minimizing the amount or putting a cap on the amount of housing that you can get in a given area, but it doesn't have to be that way. It could certainly be lower for, I mean, yeah, in high density residential, it could certainly be lower. We probably have things that are non-conforming with that already. If we're talking about, 4 or 5 unit houses on small lots, they probably don't meet this.
so how is a family dwelling or family unit is considered when it's built horizontally, 2 units next to each other or above within the same building?
It should just be defined as, it should be neutral on that question. It's just how many,
It's how the lot allows you to build.
So
That's
for
always how it
someone
comes out.
who has 2 stories, renting one and using the other one, he can use a lot size of 2,000, whereas someone who has only 1 floor or using the 2 floors for himself, they cannot do anything if the lot size is less than 5,000, right?
No one, theoretically, no one should be able to do anything if their lot size is less than 5,000. That those 2 criteria should be totally independent.
Bill, thoughts from your guys' perspective?
I need to think about this. I'm wrapping my head around it. So we want to increase the number of family units that are possible. Does the new regulations, state regulations, refer to this?
They do affect this kind of thing, but these numbers are already far in excess of what is required as a baseline by the state. So this is already much more generous than the state requires, but there's no reason we couldn't go lower from this even. The state only requires 5 units an acre on water and sewer. So we're at what, 8 8 or 9 units an acre with this. Or no, more than that. It's like 20 units an acre with 2,000 square feet per family unit.
Well, we still got to conform to the coverage. Maximum structure coverage is 50%.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm getting at.
So
With
the reality, it comes back, you can do that, but you're building up, and that's why the 60-foot was there. So then if you needed to have a building that would at that point be, you know, up to 4 stories, but more than likely inclined to be 3 full stories with like a loft story at the top of it would allow you to do that at 60 feet, which is the same thing as the downtown currently is 60 feet.
Right.
Um,
The central business district.
yeah,
Yeah.
so basically saying we're gonna take that standard and apply it a little bit further out into those neighborhoods that come right off of the CBD and because that's what well, let's see the high, let's see. Yeah. So it's going up State Street. Scottney goes up to the neighborhood right across the little pond, that whole thing up there.
Right. I was thinking
Yeah.
about that area, like, can you build a building like Central and Main in an area like a high density residential area? You've got the height restriction of 60 feet. That would be a negative to have, if you live in a high density residential area,
Mhm.
to have a building like Central and Main, you would not want.
Yeah, but you're also, you got to remember Central and Main was 20-something units. So that's actually 50 again. And so then you're going to go into the other reviews to make sure that it conforms to the aesthetic of the neighborhood, and all the other pieces are all going to come up at that point.
Yeah.
So for the purposes of what this is not necessarily saying that I'm thinking you would want to have a building that would be not that kind of a style, more conforming like a colonial. That's a tall, deep colonial up there that you could fit someplace, and you'd have 8 units in it with parking around it. That would be more of an appropriate use. And this would allow that to happen. That's kind of the idea. And it's saying that in order for it to happen, the lot has to be big enough. Honestly, there's nothing that I know of up there that is.
Right.
So it's a self-resolving issue, because the problem that we have is twofold here. We have a lot of land, but you can't use it. You know, it's up against ledge, shear walls. I mean, you actually look at the geographical map that Holly brought up for us once. You'll see that there's a bunch of places looking at it as a map. You say, wow, why can't you build something here? Well, you know, you can't. It's not flat, and you're not going to try to blow up, you know, tons of granite to get it to be able to flatten out. So a lot of this is self-resolving. And I think what we're saying is, if there is a place that you can build into, a developer creatively comes up with something, then we should allow them to do it. There we go. Great. I'm glad you brought that up. That really illustrates what the problem is as far as developing any larger spaces. We don't have them.
Right.
Very few. There's a few opportunities. One of them being down by the pond past where the condos are, that area.
But all this area is within the floodplain, so the red
That
means
all's gone
that
anyway.
within the floodplain, which brings more restrictions. So we're mainly limited in these areas.
Right.
Yeah, I'll just say to the question of whether a building that large would be, you know, up on Cherry Street or whatever, up above the ponds. Yeah, I think the tiny lot sizes up there are what's going to be the natural limiting factor there. And that is part of the reason why you have a density requirement, is so, you know, multifamily buildings can only be a certain size. It's maybe a reason to retain the density requirement. Because otherwise you could just build as large of a building as possible up to the dimensional standard. So the 60-foot height limit and the other setbacks and things like that. but I'm just looking at the parcel viewer for that area right now, and most of those lots are around 0.15 of an acre, which is equal to about 6,000 square feet and change. So with the 2,000 square foot per unit density requirement, the most you could get there is 3 units. So that's what would prevent you from doing something
Right.
totally outsized in that area
And your maximum coverage, 50%. So
as
you
well.
know,
Yep.
which I think, I'm not sure I'm completely happy with it being as low as 50%, but we got it up from 40.
There are probably some existing buildings in those areas that are real close, and probably many that are in excess of that.
But we kind of went through a lot of this last time. I agree with clarifying where we were, and I think that looks pretty good, unless anybody else has any other concerns.
You
If
looking for
not, let's move to, let's see,
Yeah.
CB.
This is Dave again. I
Yeah,
guess
hi, Dave.
my one concern would be, going into a residential area, buying 1 or 2 properties that were right next door to each other for whatever price, and then tearing them down and then just building this big megalith thing like they do down in Connecticut.
and change
Um,
the
And
neighborhood.
it changes the whole neighborhood.
Well, I kind of see where you're coming from, but I'd have to actually see where it's possible.
Could be.
I mean, you can't say that it's not. And I don't know that. I mean, if you're talking about a big megalith thing, and if it's over 10 units, they're not going to be able to do that. There's a building on State Street currently right now that is, I think it's either 8 or 10. It's right by the entryway to the high school.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And it's a triplex. It looks like a triplex from the front, but it's not. It actually extends down. And there's apartments down on the back side of it too.
Probably 8 units there.
I think that's about an 8 unit. And I think, and what we're looking at is you want to look at what's the biggest megalith they could possibly build. That would be probably an example of what could be built. I don't know that it would be, I don't with a 50% structure coverage, think about this for a second. How are you going to fit that into these 2 smaller lots that you're going to try to do it?
Yeah, I'm not sure how the math all works out with 75 feet of frontage, and then you've got your
I just-
setbacks
I
and stuff.
don't
It's
see
like
how you
what's
could do that.
left. Yeah.
So I think it's self-resolving on that side. And also, if it's under 10 units, I mean, that's really what we're trying to encourage. I mean, it needs to be something that we put in that, and we can talk about this in the later part of it, I guess, but I don't know when design review kicks in, but I think it kicks in for anything that's a new build, right?
It kicks in for anything within the
Oh,
design.
it's district. Design review is just in the design review district.
I'm sorry, not design review, the development review.
Oh.
I misspoke. Development review would kick in for anything that's new.
Yeah,
And then at that point, that board would have to decide whether this is appropriate for the space.
right.
So what this is saying, this is how much of a piece, this is how much you can use on that land. And you're right, somebody could go in there and buy 6 lots up, but if they want to tear everything down and build something new, it has to pass the muster of development next.
Okay, yeah. So there is some kind of a check on things like that.
Oh, yeah. Big one.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Hallie, do you know if there are demolition restrictions other than in the design review and the central business district?
Not as far as I experienced, but we can look into the regulations.
Yeah, I don't think there is. So I think you can tear down your house if you want.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities that people could do to, and you can't cover them all. But my concern is that in trying to cover all the things that could go wrong, that we end up not allowing anything that should go right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I had one more thought. What about forcing the use of vacant buildings? Like, it's like you've got this great property and it's just standing there vacant and it's not being used. Maybe like if it's not rented in 6 months, the property taxes go up. And if it's not rented in a year, the property taxes go up again, or some sort of kind of incentive to utilize under or unutilized existing property.
Yeah, that's not something we would do through zoning. You would maybe do that
That's
through a
right.
local ordinance or something, or the town would seize properties that have back taxes and put them up for tax sale, something like that.
Taxes you could do. And what you're talking about has been mentioned quite a bit. Actually, it's come up in a few select board meetings that I've attended. The same with the public expressing the same frustration and interest. But the antithesis of that is saying that, okay, because we have one bad actor, we want to start passing these regulations for certain things. And sometimes what you start doing is stepping on good people that just don't have the opportunity to do what they need to do. And the other thing is we'd have to expand, since I'm on the budget committee, we'd have to make a request to multiply by at least 10 our budget for legal, because we're going to get sued up and down everywhere. You have basic property rights. What you do with your building, we have the authority to say we have some things that we're looking to try to change. And there's some things that Hallie put in here too. We have to have, certain things having to do with, you can't use I don't remember where this is, Hallie, but you can't use your front yard as a storage area to have a bunch of crack pallet in it. And that's not later down in the regulations. The problem that we have is that what's the teeth in them? Right now, currently, I couldn't find, and this will be for our next meetings coming up, but we don't have anything in here that is a list of penalties and fines and ramifications.
Okay, well, thank you for your clarification there. Yeah.
It is something that I certainly intend that we're going to talk about for whatever we can do zoning wise to put some teeth in it. I don't know what we can, but that's for a discussion as we get further along.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sure. All right, so see, the business district, we only made a couple of small changes.
All right.
And I think we kind of went through those last time, right?
Yeah, and because we have the same case for lot size and lot size per family unit, I also added that note. And Harry, I also increased it from 1,000 to 1,500, which I think reasonable. It's good. But if you think otherwise, you could
Yeah,
change.
I would vote for no change for that.
Yeah, I would vote for no change also.
Okay, we'll keep it at 1,000.
Yes.
Any other comments for the use tables?
Nope.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Mixed use, that was one where we had multiple classes again, and we got them down, right?
Yeah.
But there's one class in here.
You have one class. The lot size is 4,000. Again, I changed this one, so we can keep it at 1,000 if you think it's better.
Yes.
The frontage is reduced to 40. The setbacks, it's at the front and side at 8. And I made it like this because this is the minimum size that a car could use to park if there is no garage. So they will need to park, even if, street parking is allowed for that district.
Right.
We're going to go
Not in
with,
the winter though.
yeah.
This was something I think we also had made a note to talk about with to have this when we're done with it. We're going to have all these things re-reviewed for the CBD and the more dense stuff by fire, and make sure that they're okay with some of these things too. If they find a problem with side setbacks more than anything, to make sure that fire can get in and do what they need to do.
Okay. Harry had a lot of comments on the district standards. So
Yeah. You want to take it away, Harry?
Well, I thought we mostly said in a previous meeting that we were just going to kind of leave this for now. I continue to think that these are bizarre for the most part.
I mean, are they kind of redundant to other things that are already going on? Is that what you're talking about? Because
there's many things that it's weird doing this through the base district article here in Article 2 when, and it also makes them sound as if they're kind of like performance standards, like things that are ongoing conditions of the permit, or that they're subject to some kind of DRB review, when it's not it's not a given that whatever it is, this development is going to go through DRB review in the first place, right? So it says, for example, front yard treatment and front yard setbacks. There's a sentence near the end that says the board may require the installation of curbing or other suitable edge treatment along the street line, et cetera, et cetera. But there's things that are just permitted in the district with an administrative permit that don't even go through the board. So I don't know how that's theoretically supposed to be enforced. I mean, and a lot of these, yes, are redundant of things that are part of conditional use and site plan review. So things that do actually go through Bill and the DRB will already be reviewed for this, but having it as a kind of general requirement for everything in the district, even things that don't go through the DRB, and then saying the DRB might make some requirements on this doesn't make any sense. And in general, I just think some of these are bizarre. Like retail establishments occupying any building constructed after the effective date of these regulations shall not exceed 2,400 square feet. I mean,
that one I couldn't understand.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because if you actually read the whole thing, it doesn't add up and it doesn't make any sense. I agree with that. For the retail, who are we to say what the retail should be doing with their floor spaces in the buildings? It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it's saying,
and the assumption, Harry, isn't the assumption for this, or Hallie, anybody, that this is a new construction that we're talking about here? Because the existing is already whatever it might be.
Unless there's a change of use, then it wouldn't go through zoning. Yeah. So
I receive a lot of applications for this change of use.
Right. So it would be converting an existing building or new construction. I assume that maybe in the past, maybe when the factory shut down and stuff, folks decided that we wanted to cap the amount of retail space that would go into such a large, redevelopment opportunity like the areas down there. It was probably to take aim at like, hey, we don't want a Walmart down there or something like that. But I mean, there's many reasons why we're not going to get a Walmart down there anyway, in large part because of the floodplain, I would say. Act 250 would be another. So I'm just not sure what the purpose of this is. And yeah, I think trying to enforce these things through these supplemental district standards is just weird.
So you're for removing all of this?
Yeah, honestly, because traffic analysis, that's an easy one. I mean, that's going to be done as part of conditional use approval. Bill will tell you that. Things like screening, potentially building orientation is one that's through site plan review. Screening and buffers is also potentially through conditional use. So I'm sure you guys deal with this frequently with, applications that are in front of you guys at the DRB. So a lot of these criteria are part of those processes and don't get implicated here.
Bill, are you relying on any of this?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some cases where VMU came up. So,
Well, unless the I'll say unless the development was subject to some review process like conditional use or design review or site plan review, it wouldn't come in front of you to begin with. And so and those criteria will be in the sections on site plan review and design review and conditional use. Like they don't need to be here in Article 2.
so we had a couple I can think of is the foreign car place down next to
Alpine?
Norwich Solar, down in the old Cone property.
Oh,
And so screening came up. So yeah, we have relied upon this.
So maybe these,
But we would do that anyway, even if this weren't listed, I think we would look at that.
I mean, I think the purpose of it, and what I'm trying to get the gist of it, especially the landscaping and the screening and all that makes sense, because if you have a residential area right next to somebody wanting to do something in a certain place, you want to have some way of isolating that business that may be doing something that just wouldn't be anything you want to look at every day, and also reduce the value of your property because of it.
But not only residential, it's like when the skate park opens, the dog park opens down on Depot Avenue, there's going to be a lot more visibility of the car repair place I was talking about. So if you've got all kinds of junk cars there,
Right.
it would be nice to have that screened from what people go to see. So,
And do you have to rely on this to make that happen?
no,
Okay.
No.
So it really doesn't need to be here.
but if we move it to another section, that will bring more restrictions on the whole other districts.
Well, I'm not saying to remove it to another section. I mean, Hallie, what do you think? I mean, is this something, I'm questioning whether it's necessary.
Well, it makes sense to have traffic analysis or screening and buffer.
It does, but I mean,
these are things we look at in general for all districts. I'm not quite sure why it's just here
in the mixed use.
in this.
Right. You look at them for all districts. For example, we can maybe jump to the conditional use section. I'm not sure which it'll be in one of the later articles or the site plan review section. And anything that comes up in, say, village mixed use conditional use that comes before you for a permit, then you will check against the conditional use standards, which include many of
Right.
these same things.
Right, and those
So-
are specified, landscaping, screening,
Those are all
outdoor
specified.
lighting. Yeah.
Having it in here in Article 2 doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, because on
That,
page,
the conditional use process is what you guys are using to basically enforce these criteria. If they're
That's-
just listed here in Article 2, there's no one actually checking these things. There's no enforcement mechanism unless it goes through conditional use, and then you use those standards and not these.
Correct.
right, and that's section 5.3. Well, it's probably more than that. Let's see, it's site plan review standards, procedures. It's all in section 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have section, the one before 5.3, 5.2, we have the standard district
Yeah,
standards.
Yeah.
yeah.
But we have it only for the roadside businesses and the rural. So if you think we need to add anything, maybe we add it for the village mixed use district here.
Yep.
And remove it from there.
Makes sense to me. No, Harry's for it. Mike?
I'm for striking some of these completely, rather than. Honestly, I'm just for getting rid of these wholesale. So,
Right, and then we address those again down at conditional use standards and procedures. to put in what seems appropriate that it should be here. And I'm trying to see if that's divided up by district. I'm quite sure that it is. But it seems like that standard, I mean, I understand Bill's example is a great one. You don't want to have this place that has a pile of, junk cars that are down in an industrial location, essentially, being visible from the retail location like Windsor Station, skate park and all that. And there's some housing and other smaller businesses. There's another building that could be revitalized into housing on the corner. And it's not going to be very appealing to look at a pile of crap down there. So,
Right, but unless that car repair place needs to pull a permit for some reason, that has to go through conditional use or site plan review or something that goes in front of Bill's board, then there's no point to interview. You can't just, the town can't serve some kind of enforcement to them now just for existing without having screening. There's no.
No, they already did come for review. And
So they had to pull a permit for something. Did it go through conditional use or site plan?
yes, both.
And did you use those to require them to put in screening?
I don't remember specifically screening, but there was a lot of discussion about the appearance and how many cars could be outside and
Right. So that's
so
the
those were
time and the mechanism
based on
when,
conditional use.
right. That's the time and the mechanism that when you would have imposed
Right.
those conditions if you were going to. We can't just have a district standard that says you're going to be screened if we tell you to. That's not how the
Right.
process.
Nothing's retroactive.
Right. You have
Right.
to enforce these things at the time of permitting.
Right.
I mean, there is
Or require them at the time.
a landscaping and screening requirement. The general standards, safety and efficiency. I mean, we've got traffic control under site plan review standards and procedures, section 5.2. Looks like it has the core things that are needed there, but I think it needs to be reviewed more. I propose that as of right now, we leave it highlighted and then come back to it in 5.2 to make sure if there's anything up there that we're missing down below, that we add it to it. Does that make sense? Because I think it's already covered. I think it's already down below, but I haven't had a chance to actually read through it enough to know.
Yeah. As Harry said, I think this was a reaction to significant changes in industry and so forth that were
Yeah,
happening.
I mean, I agree. I think it shouldn't be there. I mean, Al, if you want to just for purposes of editing and review, just move it down under 5.2. And then we'll re-edit when we get down there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. I just added a note to do that. I prefer to do that offline, not on Google Docs. It will be easier. So
Yeah.
5.2D or 5.2 conditional use. Because 5.2D has extra standards for other districts.
I think it was just get them down there and then look at them later and put them where they need to go and delete what we don't need.
Okay.
Right now, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, honestly. To be blunt, I think it's because, I mean, when I was rereading through this again today, a lot of this I'm going, I don't get it. It's already down there.
I think the specificity of it would put it in 5.2
That's
as
what I was
opposed to
thinking.
5.3.
Drop it there and we'll deal with it later.
The last thing I'll say on this is I think numbers 1 through 3 just have no business being anywhere, and 4 through 7 are all things that are part of site plan or conditional use review. So they're redundant, but they have more of a purpose than numbers 1 through 3, but I'll
Yeah.
leave it at that.
I agree with you too. I think section 3 is ludicrous. It's like you're trying to encourage businesses and people to come in town, but yet you got all this wacky stuff going on. And business owners and developers don't like seeing wacky stuff. They'd rather run away because they got too many other places they can go. So yes, I agree. Roadside business area, we covered that fairly well last time, didn't we? I remember spending quite a bit of time talking about it.
Yeah, I think so. I just
Anybody else?
added what we discussed in the analysis document into this
Right.
document. So it's on, nothing changed. Do you want to go through them again?
I personally don't think we need to unless somebody else does.
Okay,
Because we went through the analysis document and said, this is what we need to do, make the majority conform and make it make sense. Is
okay.
everybody okay with just moving on or?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Industrial district, I think, removing the stuff there makes perfect sense. Accessory dwellings and use structure for residential because it's an industrial district. There shouldn't be any residential in it.
Yeah, I remove. Right.
And this one, I see the edits with there. I think we talked about this, but I don't remember for sure.
Okay. Now,
We just made the setbacks a little bit better and that was it. Now, is there any other comments on the industrial district?
No,
We're removing everything on the left-hand side for the permitted uses and have the conditional uses.
I mean, I've said my piece before about specifically Artisans Park maybe being somewhere where we could see become more of a mixed use area in the future and have some residential down there. But I think we discussed it and it was going to be a problem with the town plan future land use.
Yeah.
It was going to conflict with that. So
Right.
I understand that that's maybe a future issue.
And again, I remember talking about that too, and that's when we said we'll have that war when we do the town plan.
Yeah.
We can always come back to this to make the bylaws conform with any of the vision that would come out with the town plan. Flood hazard overlay.
So wait a minute. So if somebody wanted to, a developer wanted to take an industrial building in the industrial district and make it residential, that would not be permitted by
No.
these standards, right?
we don't have any
I don't think you can anyway.
residential units within the industrial district. And because we don't have that use, did not make sense that we propose it in the use table. It's not.
We have talked about changing some of the areas on the map on the corridor of Route 5 in the industrial district, and this is what we talked about last time, is that we may make along the roadside of Route 5, where there are some opportunities that are there that could be developed into some residential, like up by Simon Pierce where the old barn's falling down. Some areas there, that's all still in industrial, and I was suggesting when we actually start redoing the maps, when we're doing the town plan, that we change that.
Isn't that a roadside business? I don't think that is industrial. I think it's roadside.
It's right
business.
on this map, it's shown as industrial.
Yep, it is industrial.
Oh, okay.
And I think that part needed to change. Harry was talking about that too. I think that whole area that's on the, looking at the map on the right-hand side of Route 5, we need to evaluate what of it should stay industrial and what of it should become possibly low density or medium density. So that to me, that was an area that I looked at and said, there's some opportunities for housing up there that may make some sense. Now, again, that has nothing to do with the state that we're trying to conform to, because that's more of a town plan and a vision issue. Do we want to change what that's like up there? There had been a lot of pushback. We haven't even having any retailer up there. So that's something that's more of a vision and a town plan thing, I think. But we do need to evaluate that area.
Or final decision to keep it like this?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm thinking we're fine with all the changes there.
Okay. The flood
Okay.
hazard. We need to update all the flood hazard regulations, but not here. We have separate flood hazard regulations, and we need to look into that because all towns are supposed to update their flood hazard bylaws by 2027 January. Or Harry, do you remember the date that the state has established?
I think it is January 1st, 27. If you're talking about
27.
river
So, yeah.
corridor rights.
After we're done with the zoning bylaws, we will need to look into that. But to keep us safe, I added this comment that we will refer at all times to the river corridors and the regulations that are defined by the state, FEMA, and including the river corridors. Nothing else. I did not add anything, only for the dimensional standards where this overlays state flood hazard or river corridor regulations or the underlying zoning district imposes more restrictive standards on the construction and use of structures or land, the more restrictive standards shall apply. I also adjusted the note to keep us safe. All development within the flood hazard overlay district, including but not limited to interior and exterior construction, reconstruction, renovation, conversion, or structural alterations, filling, grading, or change of use shall require a permit and shall comply with Article 5, all applicable state flood hazard and river corridor regulations, and most current adopted flood hazard and river corridor maps.
Right, and that's including the FEMA map, right? Is
Yeah.
that- yeah. Which, I mean, that's self-addressing in a lot of ways. First off, you can't get insurance if you're not doing it. Secondly, any property now that's in those areas are even sniffed out to become part of the areas. When you go to even sell a house, even if you're out of it, you still have to go and show the flood hazard map, the FEMA map, to show that the property's not in there. I know that because I had to when I sold my house, a house that I owned in Springfield that wasn't anywhere near a floodplain. So yeah, I think
It's
that reads
not
fine.
only that you're within the floodplain. If you're within the river corridors, that will bring more restrictions, even if we're not, for example, a property is not within a floodplain.
Right.
They have to leave a buffer zone around 50 foot. The state has proposed new dimensional standards and new templates for the flood hazards bylaws. We will need to work on that in the future.
Okay.
Is there any value in adding the 50% rule to this document somewhere, either in this section or in section 5?
I think it's in the document, or it's,
Is it?
I'm not sure. Is it only in the floodplain, the flood regulations? Let me just look into that. But we apply that for all the developments within the floodplain. The reference is always, let me look.
I'm always surprised at how many people have never heard of that regulation, and it impacts Windsor more than most other towns in the state.
But the regulations, they refer us to Article 5. So the
Yeah,
regulations and state.
it's also fine.
Can imagine. This, which she has up here, it basically, the permits are required to comply with Article 5, and I think it's in Article 5.
Yeah.
she's saying. Because those kind of things are always fluctuating too.
What, the zone itself?
No, the consideration of what the floodplain is and that kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of that, the insurance companies control anyway. FEMA's flood insurance.
We need to look into this further. But the rule applies to all development because it's not something that we have to comply with the state and FEMA standards in terms of flood regulations and permits within the floodplain. So even if we don't have it in our regulations, we have to comply with what the state and FEMA
Right.
issue.
I went through that on 33 Main Street property.
But I think it's easy for people to say, oh, I didn't know there was such a rule. So if it's in this document, that makes it
But
easier.
we as a town will take the accountability of, permitting something that is not complying to the rules.
Well, that's one too.
Maybe we can add that as a section. We take it as it is from the state regulations or FEMA regulations and add it to the section for the flood hazard section.
Or we can add it in even as sort of like as a note in it saying in this area that you kind of a reminder, you have to comply with the FEMA rules. Without, I don't want to put anything in that puts us into the middle of being liable in paying lawyers again. I think it's a good point, though. I think Bill's right. We should refer to it someplace.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it actually needs to be part of the code, because that's also handled multiple ways. Because they got to get through a FEMA to be able to do anything with it. Okay. Well, we've come to specific use standards. The beginning of section 3 here. What do we have in section 3? I think there's not much for changes here, right, Holly? Is there anything you want to bring up that specifically should?
I think I added this comment back in September, and the purpose is to allow more infill. So I can't remember
Right.
exactly, but I think it was based on the discussions that we had at that time.
Right, and that also is based upon the new state standards too, right?
Right.
Right. So that's kind of boilerplate we have to put in conform.
Yeah, and you see here, lots under the minimum lot size for the district may have an accessory dwelling provided the project complies with the applicable district setbacks coverage limit and holds a valid state wastewater system and potable water supply. So this gives people some flexibility and gives us some flexibility.
Right.
Allow
This is gonna hit a district and state review too, so that's, we gotta make sure we're good with that. I think that covers it.
I did not reach here, so maybe we can stop until section 3. Do we have anything for the downtown design review overlay district?
Well, I think I've mentioned in the past that I also have significant issues with how design review is handled, but I think we also agreed that that was going to be something that we save for a later round of bylaw revisions, like beyond the scope of what we're trying to do right now.
Right.
Mhm. Okay. So, do you think we can finalize the document next meeting? Like I can go through the remaining sections?
Sure.
I think we will need another 1 or 2 meetings at the
Yeah, I think
maximum.
so too. But I've always have these pie in the sky goals because you set good goals and you end up getting more done if you don't. So yeah, I think we've covered enough. I did have some questions in section 4 and 5, but then nothing that really impact the regulation changes except for on like parking and stuff where we have to make changes to conform. And it's 10 after 8. Time flies when you're having fun. So we want to say that we'll just call it here and pick up section 4 at the next meeting. Is everybody okay with that?
Sure, and we're trying to keep it very minimal for changes, except where Hallie notes that there's something that she'd like to clean up. Basically, is that the idea for the remaining sections, kind of?
I think so. Yeah, with the focus being on conforming, and then shifting our efforts as soon as possible into, we'll get the request for bid out, proposals out, and then hopefully start to get through that process and get in the nitty gritty on the town plan because 2007 is right around the corner, and we got to do the flip regulations too. I don't think that that's going to take up a ton of our time to update, but they're all things that have to be done. So yeah, I think so. I mean, that puts us on target to the beginning of March, having this thing buttoned up. And then we have to, at that point, I don't know. I'm beginning to wonder whether it's a possibility we include something into town meeting. Or whether that just doesn't make sense. It is a good opportunity to get everybody in town to review it, but they may not want to try to squeeze this into that. Now I think about it, I don't think we have time anyway.
We will have a public hearing. We have to warn the hearing. So,
Yeah, and
um,
it's just basically the hearing is gonna be a special planning commission meeting. Where we'll be able to go through and highlight what the changes are. From what I understand, that's all we need to do. The select board will have to do possibly 2 meetings, but they don't have to either. They can do it in one public meeting.
it's an official public hearing that will be posted, and there must be like a specified timeline between what the hearing we held and the hearing that the select board will have.
Right. So
I
we
think
really
we
need
also
to
need to
be,
share the document with the abutting towns before the select board hearing.
Mhm. I mean, and in order to even go to the next steps, we have to approve whatever changes we're talking about doing at this point to bring those changes again to the public meeting. So, I mean, it would be good. We'll see how we do, but it would be good if we could get to that point next meeting. I think we can, but it depends on how many issues that we're going to come up in here
Okay.
for the rest of it.
Bill, I see that you have access to the document, but is this the email address you're using?
Could be.
I will add you as an editor. Okay.
Okay,
You
thank
should
you.
receive an email. And if you want to add another email address, just send me a request.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right. I think we're done with this part. Let's Not sure, is there any other business? I thought there was something else we were gonna talk about, but I don't remember. I don't think so. I'm brain dead anyway. Is there any other public comments or questions? And
No, thank you, gentlemen, for your service and everyone, and I guess we'll stay tuned.
absolutely. Join us next time.
All right,
Same
thank
bad
you.
time, same bad place. All right, well, if everybody is good, then I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 8:12. And we will get together in February.
All right. Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Hallie.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
So the state changes,
Mhm.
where are they documented?
I can send me an email about that and I'll pull them up.